All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing the other games on Saturday. Not to say these are lesser than, but as always, we put some other videos in their own separate ones. So if you're looking for our thoughts on the big game in Tuscaloosa, Alabama versus Auburn, or Kentucky and Texas, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, those are all in separate videos. We'll talk about the other games here, though, and we start with Arkansas hitting the road in College Station to play the Aggies, Texas A&M. All of a sudden, a very intriguing matchup between these two teams. We know because don't let the Hogs get hot. Well, they've gotten hot here as they've now won 4 of their last 6 games, 3 of 4, and coming off a home win against LSU. First meeting between these two teams. Of course, A&M has won 4 straight. They're hot themselves. They've won 6 of their last 7. Came back from a double-digit deficit, I think it was, against Georgia. We're down 11 early in the second half. Won that game by 16, so the Aggies took care of business, as we know. But, Max, this is a very interesting one. Curious to know what the spread may be on this one. Arkansas, we've seen many times now over the past, couple weeks here. They don't mind going into somebody else's building and pulling off a win. Big opportunity here for the Hogs who are trying to make the NCAA tournament.
Big opportunity for the Hogs, too, because kind of what they've been leaning on to win these games is going to be a recipe for success against the Aggies. Leaning on the toughness of Knox, Thero, Billy the Kid off the bench doesn't bring an offensive spark. He brings a toughness spark. That's what it's going to take to go into College Station and win. If they, being Arkansas, can match up physically with A&M, which I don't think they will do all the way. However, if they can just hold their own, just hold off the swarm of the Aggie big men, they've got a chance here. I mean, Anderson Garcia, Henry Coleman, Farrell Payne, I think they'll be able to get what they want against Big Z. But guys like Adu Thero, I am just looking at him, not even for his scoring, because they'll need him to get to the line a little bit and maybe draw a few fouls on those big guys for the Aggies. But I'm just looking for him literally just boxing out. Just Oklahoma drill, one-on-one under the basket. Low man wins. It's going to have to be a very, very, I want to say group effort from those toughness guys for Arkansas. They're all going to have to band together in this one, Blake.
Oklahoma drill. I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now to go get in on one of those for this game because, you went exactly where I was going to go in terms of, to me, this is all about the physicality of Texas A&M and can Arkansas handle it. That's really what it comes down to here because I think, like we always say, like A&M is going to get to the free throw line. They're going to force you to get in foul trouble. And if they do that to a team that's already, doesn't have the same depth that a lot of other SEC teams have, just from a numbers standpoint, with Fland out for the season, then that becomes a different game, right? And so we mentioned how well Big Z has been playing. I mean, he has just had some tremendous games here recently. And that's going to have to continue. They have to keep getting him the same kind of looks. They have to at least provide some kind of threat from the perimeter. Because if you're trying to do everything you can to beat Texas A&M and you're trying to do it all from inside the perimeter, I think that's going to be a real challenge, just given, again, what the expectation is for this Texas A&M team and how they're going to play defensively. And so they're going to force turnovers. They're going to limit your second chance opportunities. And I just think that's where, shooting the ball has never been more valuable than in a matchup like this for Arkansas. Like, you've got to keep Davis in a rhythm. You've got to get the shots you want because the numbers just tell us, Max, that A&M is just one of those teams that they're going to own the glass here no matter what. And I think how Arkansas adapts to that physicality early on, I don't think you want Arkansas in a situation here where they're chasing, right? Because we always say that. I don't think you want to force them into playing a way they don't need to play to win. And because the shooting numbers are what they are, I don't think that's a good spot for them just from that perspective.
Yeah, and kind of the way that Arkansas plays their interior defense, it leads right into what A&M wants to do. And I'm talking about how Arkansas has a very good 2-point percentage defense, A lot of that's because Big Z and his block rate. But since Big Z's always going for the block, that opens up the offensive glass. So I'm seeing, I can see it already. The Zurich Phelps or Wade Taylor kind of floaters that they do to try to get it over Big Z. Big Z goes for the block, offensive rebound, offensive rebound, offensive rebound. Big Z's going to be able to deter them on the first shot. Can Arkansas rebound that miss? Might be the difference in a win or a loss. Most times against A&M, the answer is no. I think that Arkansas, despite what the numbers say, they're playing with a toughness. They're playing together. And I think the way that they've been playing the past few games, I think they're trending in a direction of, yeah, I kind of do trust these guys not getting bullied around by the Aggies. One angle, though, that I'm a little bit worried about when I'm trying to find a way that Arkansas can win this thing is DJ Wagner's been really good with the Rock. He has not been turning it over that much. But who they've played? Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas, Alabama, LSU. None of those teams force turnovers. They don't even try. Texas A&M is the best in the league at it right now. I'd be surprised if the efficiency and the ball handlers for Arkansas continues in this one.
All right, let's make our picks because I have another angle I'm going to throw in when I make my pick on this one.
You know where I'm going.
I know.
Aggies.
And here's what I think is interesting too. Like as usual, Alabama is the outlier here. It's always Alabama. I feel like is the outlier. But in home games in SEC play, A&M has allowed 60 points to Texas. They allowed, again, take the Alabama game out where they allowed 94. 57 points to LSU, 68 points to Oklahoma, and 53 points to Georgia. Now, what I think is interesting about that is I think that, quite frankly, Arkansas is better than all those teams when it comes to their offensive output right now. And so I think they will provide a little more resistance for Texas A&M just being able to come out and just completely shut them down. But it does worry me a little bit about the physicality. Mm-hmm. And it worries me if Arkansas kind of is in that catch-up mode. I don't know that their style lends itself to winning a game in College Station where I feel like A&M's going to get to the line. They're going to get second chance opportunities. And I don't like the matchup. But guess what? If you're an Arkansas fan, maybe you should be thrilled because I haven't liked the matchup for them in some of these games recently either, and we've seen how that's gone. So I'm going to pick A&M too. Probably not a surprise. We're picking the top 10 team at home against the unranked team, but there are ways for Arkansas to do this. I just think it's going to take them doing things that they've not done particularly well in a game like this season. So we'll see what it looks like between this one. Very, very interesting though. Again, I'm all in on this one. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Early one.
The early tip, 11 a.m. You never know about those 11 a.m. games. We always say that too. So another good spot for Arkansas maybe. All right, this one is very interesting as well. Missouri hits the road to play Georgia. This one, 2:30 p.m. Central on the SEC Network. I mean, how many times do we have to say it? Georgia has kind of been a different team at home this season. They have played some pretty good basketball. Meanwhile, Missouri, you could argue maybe, even in losing some games recently, Missouri may still be playing as well as a handful of teams in the country right now when you just look at the performance that these guys are putting on these days. So, Max, I mean, this is, again, for Georgia, we've said it, Georgia is in the spot where they just have to start winning games. 4-8 in league play. They got 6 games to go. They got to start finding some of these wins, and this is one of only 3 home games left for them. I mean, this is a crucial game for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Tyron Lawrence was out last game with a leg injury. Dakota LaFew, I don't think it was announced why he was out, but he was out as well. They're gonna need some backcourt support against a feisty backcourt like the Tigers here, even at home. Blake, I think this might be a pick'em. Maybe Mizzou -1 or 2.
I was going to say, I think 2 would probably be high. I think it's going to be 1.5 at most, probably.
If it gets past 2, I'd be surprised. And that's another one of these scary ones where someone just asks you if you've been following SEC basketball this whole year and kind of the trends that have been going on, the way teams have been playing the past few weeks here as we're into mid-February. Mizzou against Georgia. Who do you pick?
Right. Yeah,
Everybody
no question.
says,
Yeah.
"Oh, Missouri, they're the better team right now." Well, the spread is 1 basket.
Well, and look, we always joke about this, but we're like, game time, length of game in this one could be high. These are the two most free throw oriented teams in the SEC in conference play. Missouri is getting 24.3% of their points from the free throw line. Georgia's getting 22.9% of their points from the free throw line. Then is where you have some drastic differences, Max, right? Georgia, 16th in three-pointers in terms of their point distribution. Missouri is 16th in two-pointers. So this is such a great matchup, I think, just in terms of the way these teams are going to score. When you just have kind of these numbers that these two, again, Missouri, it's going to be free throw line or 3-point. Georgia, it's going to be free throw line or 2-point. And that's kind of the way it's been for these two teams.
Yeah, and look at how Missouri look at how their front court just performed. Mark Mitchell with a great game. How about that matchup? Mark Mitchell against Asa Newell.
Count me in.
Oh my gosh. RJ Godfrey's been playing pretty well too. And I haven't been mentioning him. The bully ball committee likes what they see out of RJ Godfrey. Blue Cane too. Blue Cane just had a good game. So it's just, can they all put it together? Can Demery, Blue Cane, and Newell all provide consistent offense in the same game? Gonna be tough to do against Missouri, but at home, they've been right there knocking on the door. They still have a top 25 defense in the country, Blake. Let's not kid ourselves. We get on the offense like we should, but this is a Georgia team that has stifled some people.
Yep. I don't know why this game to me feels very similar to the Texas game that Missouri played a little less than a month ago, where it was just an absolute grind. Winds up being 61-53. Would I be shocked if this is a game that's like that just from a scoring standpoint? Probably not, because again, you've got a desperate Georgia team where like every possession here is just going to be, it's like, all right, come on, we're this close. Like, let's just this possession. And meanwhile, like I said, Missouri, look at what they've done on the road to some teams, right? They won by 27 at Mississippi State. They only lost by 4 at Tennessee and played really well there. But then you do kind of have that Texas game. Of course, Missouri's also won at Florida. And so it's like, which of those do you value? Missouri has been pretty good on the road this season. Georgia has been obviously much better at home this season than they have on the road. If you look at Georgia's home performances in SEC play, a 13-point win against Kentucky, 10-point win against Oklahoma, 2-point home loss to Auburn, 11-point home win against South Carolina, 19-point home win against LSU, 1-point home loss to Mississippi State. Something's got to give here, Max, when we make our picks for Missouri and Georgia.
Are we going to picks right now?
Let's do it. I know where I'm going.
Georgia. I'm going Georgia. Man, what am I doing?
All right.
Georgia.
You're going Georgia in this one, huh? Okay. So here's the way this works, right? This is the superstitious me. It's like, I know how this works here. Everybody thinks I've been talking junk about Georgia when I've really just been concerned about their possibility to make the NCAA tournament, right? And I'm just like, I worry about the offense quite a bit. There's no disregarding that. But then I'm like, I'm the Dennis Gates guy, right? Like, I'm the Missouri guy, as known here.
Yep.
So we know that if I pick Missouri, all that bad sort of voodoo is going to come back to me, where Georgia's going to be the team that beats them. So I'm going to, even though it's like not your technical Southeastern 16 kiss of death in reverse, I guess, I'm going to also pick Georgia here, because I think this is one where like terrifies me for Missouri. This game just terrifies me because I know what's at stake for Georgia. I know they have all this on the line. And I don't know. This is one of those weird games to me. But then again, I'm like, I always say that, and I'm thinking, we saw Mississippi State in kind of the same scenario against Missouri, and Missouri went in and beat them by 27 points.
Yep.
The difference is, I think Georgia defensively is a bit better. I think this is going to be a grind of a game. But believe it or not, I'm going to pick Georgia too. So.
Like, what did it for me was Silas Demery dribbled that ball off his foot last possession. They could have won that game. Okay, let's just play a hypothetical. Say he doesn't dribble it off his foot, gets fouled or something, they win by 1. Their only home loss on the whole year is a 2-point loss to the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, that's how good they've been at home. I'm glad you just said that, okay? So I don't care. I'm not going back on my pick, but I just...
Hey, Mizzou fans, that just goes to show, if you do go in there and you win, you put on a great performance, don't just say, yeah, we were supposed to beat Georgia. Oh, we were supposed... No, you go into Stegman and you win on Saturday. Big time win. Big time.
I always feel better, Max, when I'm picking against Missouri because I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I don't want to put that on my client, all right? I want to pick against them the rest of the season because it usually works out okay. So this one makes me a little nervous, so I'll go with that on there. All right, we continue on. We have our fun here, as you guys know. We like to have fun here at Southeastern 16. This one could be fun too, as it's Mississippi State at Ole Miss, 5 p.m. Central, ESPN 2. The showdown, the rematch in this one, although, Max, this one feels a little bit different than it did last time. These two met on January 18th. Mississippi State won that game 84-81 in overtime, and that was, of course, in Starkville. Mississippi State led by as many as 14 in the first half in that game. That was I remember we were watching that one before we were doing a reaction show or something. That was just a wild game. Lasted 2 hours and 41 minutes. Of course, it went to overtime. Lengthy game. Had some reviews in that one from what I can remember. But that was a while ago. And since then, Mississippi State all of a sudden is 5-6 in the league, have certainly not played their best basketball here recently. We mentioned the 1-point win at Georgia. They also had home losses to Missouri by 27, Florida by 13, which really didn't feel that close in there as well over the past week and a half or so. Now they had to play an Ole Miss team that's put together a really good resume at this point. Won 4 of their last 5, 8-4 in the SEC, sitting in a great spot right now as Ole Miss. And that's why Missouri, Georgia, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, very important when you look at where those two teams stand in the standings. Of course, Max, it's the race for that double bye. May be difficult given the 4 teams ahead of them right now, but you can't count anything out at this point for those two teams in Missouri and Ole Miss. But I don't know, Max. That's just, man, we talk about teams going in different directions. Feels like the case right now with Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Yeah, that combined with Mississippi State winning the first one in the fashion they did in overtime, you just get the feeling that Ole Miss wants one back. They want to get back there. When you look at that first game, as wild as it was, there were some things to pull on. Dre Davis, only 29 minutes. He fouls out. Just watch the last game. You can see how important Dre Davis is in the few minutes that he played. He does so much for Ole Miss. But then also for Mississippi State, you got 6 threes out of R.J. Melendez and Riley Kugel. You got 39 points combined from Kugel and Murphy. That was one of Kugel's best games of the season. Yeah. So you combine the big offensive output from guys that aren't doing that all too consistently for Mississippi State right now. You combine that with being at home, Dre Davis fouling out, and just naturally, I would like Ole Miss in the bounce back, regardless of if I knew how they were performing. Just seeing that, the way that game shook out, I would naturally like Ole Miss in the bounce back. You add in how these two teams have been performing, and you're looking at probably a 5, maybe 6-point favorite for Ole Miss here at home. Rebels are in a good spot here, I think.
I go back to the game against Kentucky. Ole Miss went 13 of 30 from 3 in that game. And you know why I'm going back to that, because we just keep bringing up Mississippi State's perimeter defense this year and the numbers they're allowing from 3. And I think if you give these guys that opportunity, I mean, they're a top 100 team in 3-point percentage, right? They're shooting 35.5%. And we mentioned Mississippi State has now dropped all the way in the 300s in 3-point defense, allowing 36.2%. I mean, I think it may be that simple. Like, I just think with Ole Miss, the way they can shoot the ball sometimes, and again, it's not necessarily have to be high volume for Ole Miss necessarily. It can just kind of be getting the shots that you want. I think that is what more than anything stands out to me about this matchup, because you said it the last time around. We were talking about the reaction after the Florida game. It's just open shot, open shot, open shot. And I think if you are going on the road and giving this Ole Miss team open shots, I think that's where, whether it's a jump shot or a flat-footed shot with Malik D, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I think that's trouble for Mississippi State.
Yeah, but this is still a rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State is still ranked 31st in KenPom. They've got a top 25 offense. They've got a potential, I wouldn't say first team at this point, but probably a second teamer in Josh Hubbard, a guy that can go off any night. You've got physical, switchable defenders in Matthews and Murphy that can kind of play that same athletic type of big man, undersized big man game that Dia, Brakefield, a little bit of MBJ play. So as confident as I am in Ole Miss and a spread that might show a few possessions, let's not forget this is still Mississippi State versus Ole Miss, right? It's still that same intensity, that same rivalry. I feel very confident in the matchup, but let's not forget what we're dealing with here. We got a team with their back against the wall. I know that they've had it there for a little bit, and Mississippi State has had some clunkers, Missouri and Florida game. But, man, past few times they've had to go on the road, they've gotten up for it, Blake. Beat Georgia on the road. Beat South Carolina on the road. Couldn't get there against Tennessee, but didn't play bad.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, whatever the spread is, I'm going to be inclined to go with Mississippi State on that, because I just think it's as you said, it's a rivalry game. I don't think Mississippi State has forgotten how to play basketball. I think they have just hit one of those rough patches that sometimes, and we knew this going in. We said the SEC this year is going to maybe not completely break, but send a team down the wrong direction. And they just happen to be one of those teams right now. It feels like they're kind of there. But in their minds, too, they've already beaten this team. And like I said, there are a lot of things they can take away from that first meeting, probably between these two, especially they got a lot of second chance opportunities, dominated the glass. And so we'll see. All right, picks.
I think it's a Keshawn Murphy game. I think he had a big game in the first game. He's going to have to again with the way that Brakefield and Dia have been playing lately. I kind of think it's the way that Ole Miss's offense plays. Jamin Brakefield's got a fantastic pump fake. Padula has got a great pump fake. You're talking about those wide open threes earlier. I just think they're gonna have opportunity after opportunity to drive, dish, pump fake, defender flies by, Padula wide open three. I just think the offense on the perimeter is going to be far more consistent for Ole Miss, whereas Mississippi State's going to have to be, Hubbard, here we go, buddy. Mm-hmm. We need a 30-point game here. I like the consistency of Ole Miss a little bit better. I trust them. Give me the Rebs.
And I don't like the inconsistency of Mississippi State at the free throw line. That was something that stood out in the last game. They went 17-28. They shoot 67.9% from the line. If we do think this is going to be a close game, that's where I think I see a difference here. Not to say that Ole Miss is like an elite free throw shooting team, but they shoot at 73%. Mississippi State just has not been able to consistently hit those shots, as we said, and just a team that feels like they have to win in one way. And I feel like against Ole Miss, you need a lot of different ways to do that against this defense. So I'm going to pick Ole Miss as well in this game. All right, on to LSU at Oklahoma, 5 p.m. Central start on the SEC Network. Speaking of teams that need wins, Oklahoma, let's call it what it is. You have to win this game. It is a must-win. We've reached that territory for the Sooners, who are 3-8 in SEC play, lost 3 straight, 4-5, coming off of, as we talked about, just some one-sided performances. 28-point loss at Auburn, 18-point home loss to Tennessee, 24-point road loss at Missouri. Those are all great teams. LSU has not been that great, as we know, sitting here at 1-10 in league play. So if you're the Sooners, Max, the goal here is simple. it's not just to win this game, but win this game by 30 because you
Yep.
need the metrics to really start to catch up a bit to push you back in the right direction in the NCAA tournament. They are easily one of those teams right now, probably on that last four in, first four out type line. A crucial game, and again, as must win as it gets for Oklahoma heading into a game on February 15th.
Oklahoma in SEC play against teams ranked in Ken Palm's top 40, 0-8. Outside the top 40, 3-0. When they play top teams, the offensive efficiency goes down a little bit. I feel like the blueprint on Jeremiah Fears is out. His efficiency has dropped pretty heavily in conference play when he was just magic in some games in the non-conference. The three ball is still there. They're still ranking 5th in the SEC in 3-point percentage. So they still got that. Whereas LSU, you're comparing the offenses. Oklahoma's got a bit better percentages. But when Oklahoma does play a lesser team, they have taken advantage so far. We keep saying Oklahoma is just, they keep flirting with the bubble. They keep flirting with it off the great non-conference. This is probably out of the rest of their games, out of the 7 remaining games, this one is as needed as it gets, Blake.
Yeah, and when I look at some of those things where it's like, all right, find me a recipe for LSU here. I mean, LSU has, even like the Arkansas game, they lose by 12, but they were competitive there. Like they had a shot. Like the Alabama game on the road, right? They lost by 7. A&M on the road, they lost by 11. Ole Miss on the road, they lost by 12. So it's like LSU's been competitive. They're 1-10, but yes, they've had some opportunities. It's just, again, for Oklahoma, that they're also another team where it's just like you really don't know what you're going to get unless it is kind of these kind of games against teams where they should beat them. And if you look at like the statistical numbers, some of the things Oklahoma struggle at, they turn the ball over, right? LSU doesn't force a lot of turnovers. They're not really a team that's going to get many offensive rebounds. Well, LSU allows a lot of offensive rebounds, so maybe have a few more opportunities there. I mean, like defensively, if you look at some of the things, it's like, well, maybe we don't do this that great. Well, but LSU's not a great offensive team. So it's just, it's just hard to find, again, all those things for LSU. Would I be surprised if this is close? Probably not. Would I be surprised if Oklahoma won by 25? Probably not. Like it's just, that's the range of outcomes, I think, when you talk about these two teams right now. So.
Yeah, looking at LSU, it's mainly the story for me is, can LSU's offense keep up with Oklahoma's offense? That's basically the game for me. And how does LSU do that? They're not going to do it from the 3-point line. They can do it inside. You've seen Robert Miller, the freshman, 6'10", start to have some nice games. Cam Carter, he's a slasher, can get inside. But I trust Oklahoma's offense more to get to the free throw line and make them when they get there. The 3-ball, I would be absolutely shocked, floored, if LSU makes more threes than Oklahoma in this game.
Yeah.
I don't see how the Tigers offense is able to keep up with an Oklahoma team who at home, besides Tennessee, they put up some points. 82 against South Carolina, 97 against Vanderbilt. When they play these lesser defenses, these lesser teams, they can put up 80, 90 points. They got the offense to do that, do the Sooners.
Yeah, LSU has made 10 or fewer threes, or excuse me, 8 or fewer threes in, I think, 10 of their last 11 games. So, like, it's a non-factor for them right now. And I think going on the road to win this one, I think we know where you're going with your pick, Max.
Yeah. Sooners, I would honestly lean towards a pretty nice Sooners performance here. I think it sets up well for them.
Yep, I think so too. I'm going to pick Oklahoma. They got to have this one to stay in the NCAA tournament picture, I think. And so, because the rest of their schedule is brutal. So, got to have this one. I think the Sooners get it. So, I will pick them as well. All right. The last one here, South Carolina at Florida, 7:30 p.m. Central Time on the SEC Network. Boy, I think this may look a little different than the last time around, where, as we remember, South Carolina, quite frankly, probably feels like they should have won the game against Florida. 70-69, the Gators escaped Columbia with a win. South Carolina was up 14 with 12 minutes to go in that game. And then the Gators just somehow miraculously found a way to win that one. There was no Jamari Thomas in that game for South Carolina, which makes it all the more kind of just wild that it was actually that close. But he, of course, has come back since then. He has 5 straight games in double figures, so that's a nice boost for South Carolina. But you're going up against a Florida team right now that, quite frankly, is playing as well as anybody in the country. Some could even argue they're playing as well, maybe the best of anybody in the country, based on their last, couple performances here with the win at Auburn, the dominant win at Mississippi State, and now you come back home, which is a nice place to be for the Gators, as they're going to get the opportunity to play a South Carolina team that we just keep thinking, Max, at some point maybe this team is just going to kind of break after losing this many games. But at home, that's not happened. They always seem to be close at home, but on the road, maybe a different story here.
Yeah, last time around, actually that was that I had tweeted out the Zachary Davis game with a few minutes left because he was banking in shots left and right. Every bounce was going Zachary Davis's way. And then I got Will Richarded when he comes in and rains on the Gamecocks parade. The reason I bring that game up, 9 of 26 were the Gamecocks from 3. In their 5 games since that game, how many times do you think they've made more than 4 threes, Blake, since the Florida game?
I mean, I know they hit quite a few against A&M, right, to keep that close.
Was the only.
There's no way that, yeah.
So since that Florida game where they hit 9 threes, 4 of 20, 4 of 17, 12 of 31, 4 of 22, 4 of 14. 4 out of the last 5 games, they have not even gotten to 5 3-pointers. They did out-rebound the Gators, and they can again. As good as Tommy H has been, no Condon probably in this game. That could be a factor. As good as Ruben Chignillo is, this is a South Carolina front court that just doesn't back down to anyone. So say they do go in there and they hang with the front court of Florida. The rebounding numbers are not skewed in anyone's favor. Okay. How does South Carolina take advantage of other areas? They can get to the free throw line. Okay, so now if they get to the free throw line and they're holding their own in the rebounding, who's picking up the fouls? Is it Chignillo? Is it Tommy H? See how we can start to make things interesting here. A lot has got to happen, though.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think of every game we've seen this season, I think you can make the argument that this could be the most confident choice because of this, right? You may say South Carolina could be the option in the other ones, but they played Alabama at home, they played Auburn at home. And we were kind of like, you never know. Like, they're at home. But South Carolina going on the road to Florida to play a team that has kind of been a bit of a juggernaut when it comes to their home performances, right? I mean, they had the one game against Missouri, but they have been so good at home. And so I don't want to go out there and just call this a stone cold lead pipe lock, Max, but I don't know how we find that path for South Carolina here.
Well, I just attempted to.
You tried, but I just don't. I'm not there yet. So.
Yeah, maybe, the no Jamari Thomas, now Jamari Thomas factor, maybe that comes in. But just with the way that Florida is just relentless offensively, just listing off some of their past few performances at home, 86 points, 89 points, 84 points, 82, 73 against Tennessee, 85. I mean, can South Carolina get to 80? Because if they can't, I don't see how they win. Because Florida's probably getting there.
Yeah, South Carolina has not gotten beyond 72 points in SEC play. They've only scored more than they've only scored more than 69 points once, and that was the 72-point game against Texas A&M at home.
What's their most on the road?
Wow, 63. They scored 63 at Vanderbilt. Yep. So if you go back to non-conference play, they scored 71 at Indiana. They scored 73 at Boston College.
73 points is the most points they've scored on the road all year.
Yep.
All right, let's get the picks.
So let's make our picks for this one.
I tried to find a way, Gamecocks. I tried. Florida here probably rolls.
To me, this is way more about Florida than it is South Carolina. Like, we all know what South Carolina's been, but I just think it's the combination of the two. South Carolina has really struggled offensively. Florida is an absolute machine right now, and Florida at home has just been a different beast. So, yep, I am picking Florida here too. And if you want to pick Florida, perhaps, to go all the way in the national championship, well, just go take your college hoops experience to the next level this March. Bye. And to our friends at BRACKETBIDS. We keep telling you, join that free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league with your friends, family, or coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. To secure the teams you think will go the distance, choose from multiple scoring models, including upset bonuses. To reward those bold picks, track your teams with live in-game scoring and watch the standings shift in real time. Further your teams advance, the higher you climb the standings. For league play, use that promo code SE16 for 40% off, SE16 for 40% off. Download the BRACKETBIDS app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. We appreciate you guys watching. Check out all the other prediction videos for the other Saturday games. We'll have you covered with Saturday reaction, multiple live streams throughout the day on Saturday, and, of course, our watch-along for Alabama and Auburn. But we appreciate you guys watching as always. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern.